All right, we're live with the next Keeping It Real. This one's going to be awesome. It's called an inside look at how Todd and Jason built their high-performing teams. So you might notice that we have a few more faces on today. That's because we have from Todd's team, we have Ian Daniels, who is ISA on Todd's team. And on Jason's team, we have Jamie Wicks, who performs a similar role on Jason's team. So in this session, Todd and Jason's two teams are going to share the systems and processes that they use to achieve a high ROI and convert leads at a high level to produce amazing results. So I think it's going to be awesome just seeing you guys kind of brainstorm and kick ideas back and forth. And it's not super structured, but I'd just love to see where this conversation goes.
Yeah, I'll jump in real fast because I know Jason wants to do it too, but both of us would be failing miserably if we limited these guys' descriptions to ISAs, right?
We would just leave the team too, so you're good.
But just to get it out of the open, I've heard Jason for a long time now talk about how amazing and impactful Jamie is. And obviously I feel very similarly about Ian. These guys are leaders in our organizations. They're impacting lives of our clients and our team members in a big way. So I just want to, that's a totally fine description for email and for an introduction, but just out of the gate, we both value these guys tremendously. So we'll have a little back and forth. Jason, I'll let you kind of kick off too, but I knew it was important just up front to mention that.
Yeah, first of all, I mean, behind a leader is a stronger army of people that support them in their vision. And Jamie is my business partner in every one of my businesses. He's been instrumental in our success. I couldn't say enough amazing things about this guy. And I'm going to say this, if you're listening right now, get your notepad out, get a pen and a notepad and have it ready to go, because we're going to pour so much value into you today that, you know, when you leave this, I believe it's impossible if you came into it with an open mind that you're not going to be this much better, at least when you walk away. We're going to give you at least one or two things, and we're not going to hold back. Anybody knows my philosophy. I'm an open book. I'm happy to help. I'm here to help. And I don't see the industry as this adversarial type industry. I see it as a collaborative one. If we work together, and Jamie and I in our group have proven that if you work together, you can move mountains. Jamie and I have completely transformed our personal family lives through business together. And we've helped do that with many other people. And so we're super excited to share. And Ian and Todd and Kevin, thank you guys for being on this with us. And so I'm excited to mastermind and kind of like share some of our playbook together. And again, if anybody's listening right now, get your notebook out. Let's go.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah, I always do. So I've already got some questions I'd love to throw at Jason and Jamie just to kind of get their perspective. And just for folks that are tuning in, that was kind of the goal of this. When we came up with the idea, it was kind of a collective of like, hey, let's both get our A player team members on here and let's just like pick each other's brains and share it with everyone. And we'll take questions from the audience. So pepper us with questions, but I know we've already got a few for each other. So Jason, you and I have been, we do this a lot. Jason and I kind of do that dual threat podcast thing and pick each other's brains a lot, but bringing Ian and Jamie in is a whole new element. So I know you guys have been in a big way kind of tinkering and working in the laboratory, as it were, with your follow-up and your contact rates and conversion. So we could talk for 3 days about that, but what's maybe one or two quick, tangible things people could take away that you guys are really proud of that you're working with, clients and your own team on?
Jamie, why don't you kickstart us, buddy?
Well, first of all, one thing that we kind of did in our client care department, there's a few of us that are doing it. Right off the hop, we kind of looked at the messages that we had going out with our automated templates and things like that when people first initially sign up on the website, text messages that they start receiving, some of the emails that they start getting over the next couple of days. And we wanted to really kind of change that just to be a little bit more fitting to the obviously sensitivity of what's going on. People are signing up on the website, but they would commonly, be like, well, we are in a pandemic. So we wanted to kind of focus on having our message more geared around like, hey, thanks for signing up. We're here actually connected to the website, and actually we've already started customizing your website to send you the right properties going forward. But I just want to let you know, I'm working from home. I'm here to connect with you anytime. Let's talk about it a little more, right? So just kind of changing the message from being a little bit more direct like we would have been a few months ago, and making it a little bit more softer, sensitive to the situation that we're in right now. So we started going through all of our little text messages that go out over the first couple weeks and emails, and starting to change the wording in it a little bit. Not groundbreaking changes, but.
So basically what we decided to do when the pandemic hit, we thought, man, like this is impacting a lot of people, right? A lot of things had to shut down immediately, and it was kind of scary times. We said, well, let's stay proactive. We're going to keep our foot on the gas pedal. We're not going to take it off, but let's shift our conversations to an empathetic conversation, which is, hey, Kevin, like, how are you and your family doing? You know, more about them, like really just like, are you guys okay? Like, how are things with your employment? Like, you know, I'm going to be going out and doing groceries later this week. Can I get you anything? But like maybe shifting more towards that versus real estate. And then, you know, basically asking the question, hey, are you one of these people that sees opportunity in this? Or are you kind of like really panicked and fearful? And depending on how they answer that question, we could navigate towards a real estate conversation. So if they were like, well, you know what, I actually see opportunity, because there are a lot of people that see these sort of situations as a time where they can make moves. And so what we started realizing is there were some opportunities that we could do by asking that question. But if somebody was telling us that they were worried about, you know, their job and paying their bills, well, did we ever bring up real estate? Heck no. We made it all about them and how can we help, and, you know, made sure we understood the stimulus packages that were available and just came from a place of value. But by asking that question, we were able to kind of shift some real estate conversations. And what started happening is, while we watched all of our competitors kind of like pull back, we kept our foot on the gas pedal and we stayed very proactive. And so the message that we had to everybody was like, look, all of our commission checks have been delayed. So just look at it that way. Okay. So commissions that you maybe would have expected in spring, they might happen now, fall later that year. Who knows? It might be 6 months to 12 months, 18 months, but there's still going to be business and there's going to be further business. So let's just stay proactive. Let's keep our pipelines full of people that we're having good conversations with. And let's just come from a place of empathy. And well, Jamie, what started happening after April when things started slowly opening back up? What did you notice in our department?
Things just started booming, right? Like, I think the benefit to it all is, like, obviously, you know, we don't want to always delay our commissions because that's how we support our families and stuff. But having this happen also created a longer nurturing period for just naturally with our clients, which I think in the big picture is creating more of a lifelong relationship. Like, when you're there by your client sides through this, when they, you know, we had clients that were really gung-ho, ready to buy a house, take the foot off the gas and really take a step back and want to evaluate things, and having us there doing that with them and keeping a focus on them and showing them compassion and showing them love and doing all those things. You know, it really built a foundation of a lifetime relationship that we're going to have with these clients. So it was really good for that. And I think by taking that approach and really putting a big focus on not only the people that we're looking to do business with, but our past clients over the last couple of months, we've been getting a ton of referrals. We've been getting just like, it's just been crazy. The month of May was nuts, right? So, you know, it was the way we were looking at what we wanted to accomplish has really been coming to fruition by the efforts we put in.
Yeah. Let me add something too, because, you know, similarly on our team, we've been asking that same question, Jason, right? But we extended it out to, hey, this is one of the easiest phone conversations you can make to your sphere right now, is to just call them and ask them how they're doing, right? If you're somebody that gets a little worried about calling the people that you know and asking for business, like, don't worry about that right now. Call people that you maybe haven't spoke to in a long time. Like, I spoke to people during this whole COVID-19 thing that I hadn't talked to for 3 or 4 years, but they're still in my phone book. We're still friends. We've just kind of moved in a different direction over the last few years. It was such an easy phone call to make. Hey, how are you doing? Like, are you safe? Is your family safe? And then it almost always leads back to, yeah, we're doing great. Like, how are you guys doing? Hey, remind me what you're doing for work right now. How's business? Like, it always leads back to that. And you end up being able to have that conversation. Now, I'm not being a dirtbag and saying, like, that's the reason for the phone call. Like, no. The reason for the phone call is to genuinely see how you're doing. But it is a way that you end up pretty much knowing that you're going to be able to have some form of real estate conversation too.
Yeah. And let me point out a couple of things that would matter outside of the pandemic here that are just, you know, core business principles that are really smart. We talked about this on a lot of our coaching calls, and that includes our team and other coaching clients. It's the same philosophy no matter what. That, you know, historically, a lot of people look at a follow-up call or a prospecting call, or even, to Ian's point, sometimes a sphere call, just straight go for business, which is dangerous thinking anyway, but it's kind of a one-lane road. And we were really encouraging and coaching kind of a dual element. That first piece is like Jason was saying, it's like, hey, how are you doing? Like what's going on in your head right now? Are you kind of like me and you're sort of working too much and overreacting to it? Like, I got to fix it? Or have you kind of sunken down and given up? Like, where are you? And then they'll let you know if that second lane is open. You know, it's like, well, we were thinking about buying. We don't know if that's okay anymore. Okay, well, I can tell you that it is still okay. But to back away from that and just say, what's the principle that we can all put to use for the rest of our careers, whether or not there's a pandemic, is just the ability to adjust, right? And to not get stuck in how we do things. And Jamie referenced it like, hey, we got into some of our automated follow-up. I think you talked about that.
Yeah.
And made some changes, right? Because it's easy to say, hey, I'm going to change what I say on the phone if someone doesn't respond well. But being willing to say, stop, let's kind of retool the system here, that's what it takes to be successful over the long haul. You know, I was doing this in 2006, 7, 8, 9, when things went crazy with foreclosures and short sales and the mortgage crisis. And it was similar. If you weren't willing to start communicating differently and think about different timelines and care for people in a different way, you were either hustling short sales or looking for a job, right? And a lot of people did that and then came back when it got easier, right? And that's just, in my opinion, a really volatile way to look at business. So I just want to make sure people that are, look, we are not here to spend our whole time today talking about COVID-19. But that's what's been going on for a while now. So it's certainly kind of painted with a brush, what's going on. So
just to give an illustration to what you're saying too, because we talk about this on the team and in coaching too. Think of it as an airline pilot, right? That you've got to get from point A to point B. And throughout the course of that flight, you're making very minor adjustments to be able to get to where it is the destination is that you want to get to. But sometimes you're going to have to navigate through some turbulence or whatever that looks like. They're not major cut shift changes. They're very minor changes. But, to Jamie's point, like, hey, we changed some of the wording that we're using on a templated text that we're sending out. We didn't completely revamp our business around this. We changed one small element of it to be able to better impact the people that we're trying to serve.
Yeah,
exactly.
Let's go what feels like the opposite direction just for a second, if you guys are willing, but it's not. But we actually found that some of those tweaks led us to be more profitable than ever. After April, we were almost 51% off of our goal pace. We were still profitable, which was a beautiful thing. But we didn't do what we wanted to do. And since then, we've a little bit more than made up for it. And I think some of those shifts have allowed us to be as, if not more profitable than ever. I don't know if you guys experienced that. And if so, why, or what we can share with other people that would be valuable for them.
Well, number one, so with me stepping out of production last year in May to build our coaching company, my whole point of doing that was to help elevate the industry. Help my business partners, the people that have helped me build Sims Realty Group, have diversified income streams. And so what we've been able to do over the last year is we have 7 different lines of income now that we've created. We made a brokerage shift from a traditional brokerage model to the EXP model that's created 2 new income lines for us. And then we've created several other income streams for our families. But the key is we've pivoted. We've been able to pivot, and we're kind of looking ahead. What does the industry look like a year from now, 5 years from now? And so we've built our businesses so that we can literally run them from a laptop from day one. All of our technology tools that we've invested in are all things that have thrived during COVID. Because what I've been finding is a lot of the coaching clients that I have that are doing old school methods of like door knocking and going to kiosks in a mall and different things like that. They've literally lost their ability to earn income. And so they're kind of having to discover new things. Well, for us in our group, we've been pretty modern. We've been investing in lead generation online and really like focusing on mastering conversion on that. We've been focused on social media, how to build a strong mind share and presence. We've been really focusing on building a strong repeat and referral business. You work so hard to get all this new business in the door, and then agents do a terrible job after the transaction, keeping those relationships. And I know, Todd, that's an area that you guys really excel in, as do we, is we've put some systems in play that, we can statistically see that we're way outperforming the market when it comes to people coming back and doing business with us again when they go to buy and sell. And that means, to me, that means that we're doing the right thing. So we're able to pivot and add a diverse group of income streams, which everybody in our group is benefiting from. And I think that's been key. How about you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of quick notes. If you're watching and you don't have 7 lines of income, don't let that intimidate you. Obviously, the goal is for that to encourage you, potentially towards that in the future. And I'll comment just specific to real estate sales. We have a coaching consulting business as well. Ian's actually really pivotal in that side of the business with me as well. But specific just to individual agent, small, mid-sized, big team, whatever, brokerage, like real estate sales. Technologies have been a piece of it, but just the shift in mindset and the openness from the client to look at things differently. I think as business owners, and even if you're on a team, you are a business owner. You operate your income, right? Taking advantage, and not in a negative way, but taking full advantage of people's willingness to think about something differently is crucial. And I think we have a short window here of an opportunity to rebuild our businesses in a way where we can be just exponentially more efficient. We have a marketing specialist on our team. It's what most people call a listing agent, who will close, I think, 13 listings this month. For some of you, that doesn't sound like much. For some of you, that's huge. And for us, that's a really good month for one individual agent, listings only. And that's the most he's ever done, probably by 30 or 40%. And he was out of town for like 2.5 weeks of the last 4 or 5 weeks. And that's what he'll do this month. So much of that had to do with a willingness to kind of lead a client towards a more efficient process without some of the stuff that's always been done that is valuable, but isn't essential, that we were able to replace with more efficient, even more valuable stuff, right? Some of that is as simple as Zoom or a phone. Some of it is where the team was able to leverage some of the efforts of that agent so everybody can benefit. But the principle that I want to challenge people to think about for the sake of profitability, so you don't have to kill yourself by just do more deals, more clients, is to think about, with this window of opportunity to do things differently, where clients and prospects are more open to that, what could you do to be more profitable and add more value to each person so you don't have to just do more? And we're finding some really cool ways to do that, where our agents are making more money, our clients are happier, our team is actually operating better, but we're not having to just do more of everything. So
we had talked to some people in another state where even before all of this happened, like they were doing a lot of their, I think all of their consultations virtually. Like they were never going to the property and doing that. And we were always pretty intrigued at, like, how do you do that? What are the ways you do that? How do you maintain the relationship? And so we'd had conversations with them, and then all of this happened, and now you're forced into doing a lot of that stuff. And we've realized pretty quickly, that's not too bad. Like, there's definitely things we can do and keep that we don't want to go back to the old way of doing it. Now, there's going to be situations and circumstances where we will, but that doesn't have to be an every single time type of thing. We had always done appointments in the office a lot of times, like had people come to the office instead of going to their home. Well, even doing it via Zoom is even more efficient than doing it via the office. It opens up, I think, more windows for people to be able to jump on a Zoom call as opposed to having to get in the car, travel to the office, spend time, and then travel home. Like, this is just more convenient for people, and they're more receptive to doing it now more than ever.
Are there any questions?
Can I touch on that? Can I touch on that, Jamie? And I think I want you to chime in. We've found the same thing. This whole reset, I call it, has allowed you to test some things out that you normally might have been cautious to try, and it's forced you to do it. And then you realize, oh my God, this is so much better. So for us, we're doing buyer consultations and listing consultations through Zoom for like the last 2.5 months because we couldn't get into people's homes. Not only do we have an increase in the amount of appointments that we've had, our conversion rate is gone up.
Yep.
We've seen a higher conversion rate. Yep. So, I mean, I'm like, man, there's something to this Zoom. I've literally been listing properties and I am not meeting the sellers in person. I'm doing it through Zoom. Now, I'm old school and I love the relationship business and getting in front of people. But I mean, this is really convenient. And I think about for myself, if like my professional said, look, you can be in your pajamas. I don't even care if you're wearing any pants because I won't notice on the Zoom call, but like literally from the comfort of your home, we can talk face to face like we are right now. I'm like, that's pretty convenient because I don't want to be stuck in traffic or driving across town. And I think about like the efficiencies that are being created through this kind of COVID thing. And Zoom is one we're using. Jamie, I mean, How many successes have we had with Zoom calls? I mean, share some of the things that we're doing.
One of the things I would say that's actually been really nice about everything that's happened recently is like everybody's using Zoom now, right? So with that, I've been able to get a lot more people committal to doing Zoom meetings earlier in the process than where they would have felt comfortable coming and meeting in our office before, right? So, particularly like first time buyers and people like that are, a little bit intimidated by the process, and until they've been out with an agent, looked at houses or had things like that, sometimes they're a little bit more stand backish with their whole thing, and they need somebody to guide them, but they just haven't really presented that opportunity to somebody. So having Zoom, I've been able to get a lot of those people willing to have just like from their house, let's just connect on a Zoom. Share a few things on my screen that you'll be able to see, and we can kind of go through a few things that'll be well worth the 20-30 minutes we spend together. And that has been a game changer, right? And I think another benefit out of the Zoom thing is like you guys that are more constantly working through deals with clients, and that where a lot of times that would have been just a phone call and you guys would definitely connect on the phone before. Now you're doing more face-to-face stuff where it's like, hey, let's get on Zoom and like let's actually talk about this offer and see each other face-to-face and have that like extra level, that extra layer of connection that you wouldn't have previously had, even doing it on the phone, right? Or unless you're going to their house and meeting them in person. So I think that it's been, a couple things that I've really noticed where it's been a big benefit to us.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, we've wanted to do some of this stuff for years, but people weren't comfortable. So to your point, Jamie, people are comfortable now, whether they wanted to be or not. Kevin, are there group questions before we keep peppering each other? Or okay, cool.
Nothing coming in.
One thing, Todd.
Yeah,
I was going to say one thing, Todd, just because I want to, you mentioned like when you're kind of talking about the listing agent and that being their business and the different roles being their business. I'm sure Ian will agree with me. Like when we started building out our client care team, one of the first things I said to anybody that came through our team and joined into this role with me is you have to look at this role even as your business. This is your business. So you got agents on our team that handle their business and they look at it that way. And you look at Sims Realty Group, our team, and you look at that business. But even from within our role, we have to look at it as a business, right? And we're always looking for the efficiencies. We're always looking for the ways to improve. And every one of those things that we're doing is going to impact the businesses of everyone within our, collective company, right? So I just wanted to touch on that. That's a mindset that I've always had, and I've always kind of shared that, I focus on this and treat even this inside sales agent role, client care role as its own business, right? So thought I would just kind of I wanted to mention that.
For those that have their notepads out, you ready for a golden nugget? Don't have your first text go out in the first 5 minutes. Wait to the 6 minute mark. Jamie, explain because we've been playing with this in the lab for years, and this might be different than what you guys are doing, and we'll debate it, but we've been testing this in the lab. So Jamie, what did we find when we were doing the 1 or 2 minute response time with text before, and then why we moved to the 6 minute mark, and talk about the differences?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're always trying to call as quick as we can anyway, but what I noticed is that over time, just kind of continually going into profiles, when we had those text messages going out in the first like 2 minutes, a lot of times that's right where it would end. Their browsing session would end as soon as they got that text message. It would distract them. They would sometimes be like, okay, well, I'm out of here. And they wouldn't come back to the website. So I wanted to just give them a little more time to be on the website, looking at some properties, seeing the value in what the website has to offer, because it's so nice, like the way it's displayed. We get compliments all the time on how easy it is to use. So like, I just wanted to give them a little more time and see what happened with that. And I found that after we did that, we were still getting great conversion with our text messaging and getting lots of responses with it. That didn't really change. But I did notice that people stayed on the website and came back more often by having that little bit of buffer time to just kind of stay there. And then once they had been on the website for a few minutes poking around and they get the call from me or the text message if they're not answering their phone, I noticed that they were very, very receptive because they're already starting to see the value in the website before they're getting that first initial text from us.
Yeah, that's why that was my very first question out of the gate today, was like, okay, what are you pulling out of the lab, man? That's great. I love that. So the response to your auto text is the same. It's not any lower. You're just delaying it to the 6 minute point.
Yeah, and actually I would say it's increased recently. And I'm not sure if that's because of those changes directly or just because we changed the wording as well, or just a combination of both. But yeah, like the amount of responses that we're getting those automated texts is phenomenal right now. And I just think maybe both of those things are contributing to it. But definitely what I am seeing visually though, by going into the profiles, is I'm seeing that once people have been on the website before they got a distracting text or a communication from us, they got a little more value on that visit and have stuck around more. So
Yeah,
that just reinforces what we were saying earlier, right? That everybody on this that's watching this now or later, you're all doing things that are probably working. And then all of a sudden, it's going to not quite work as well as it was working. And so you have to begin to try and tweak it. And that's going to take some testing of things, trying different things out. And that's okay. But you got to make sure, like Jason, I'm sure you didn't like test this for a week and, oh, it didn't work, so we're going to do something else. Like you test it for a longer period of time. You have to give it a chance to work, whether that's 6 weeks or a couple months, whatever that looks like. But you have to make sure that whatever you're changing, tweaking, like make sure you give it a good amount of time to actually be able to get some results so that you can begin to quantify whether or not it's worth it.
Yeah.
Jamie, what does your auto text say? What's in there?
So it's kind of, we hit them with 3 texts.
You want me to pull it up, Jamie?
Sure, yeah. Hold on, let me just see here. I just got my one monitor. Yeah, so it's kind of like we hit them with 3 texts. I just found like when we had the one auto text, it just didn't get nearly the kind of responses when we changed it to 3.
So you wait 6 minutes first, and then you send one text. And then
I'll give you the text.
Cool.
I'll tell you exactly the sequence. All right. So get your notepads out.
I got it.
All right. Hold on. Just pulling it up. All right. Here we go.
I got it here. Do you want me to get going?
Do you want to put it on? Do you want to even throw it up on? Can you throw it up on the screen even, Jamie?
Well, I'll just read it because I just don't want to put people's personal information on here. But so it says, hey, thanks for signing up on our website, simsrealestate.ca. I always make sure to include your website link on that, just so you make it very easy for them to come back to the website just by clicking on that text when they come back to it. Our team is working from home as much as possible right now. We have the time to set up the website to your preferences very easily, and I'm starting to customize it for you already. So that's the first message. So it's not really even like a question so much as it's like, here's a little bit of value for you. We're already starting to customize the website to your preferences. Thank you for signing up. The next one kind of goes on to explaining a little bit more about that.
It's 1 minute later, just so you know. So there's a 6 minute mark, and then 1 minute later. So it looks like we're sitting there texting you.
Yeah, exactly. So the second one, we're setting up a safe search for you that will send you your daily listing updates, matching your preferences to save you time. We're connected to the website all day to answer questions, gather info, and coordinate whatever you need. I'm born and raised here on the island. I've lived here my whole life. Are you local to the island as well? Right. So we give them a little more value about what we can do and how they've basically just signed up on a website where they have all kinds of support. But then we finish with a question on the second one. And it's just a little bit to find out if they're from here. Tell them that we're local. We know the area, but are you from here as well? Because we have a lot of people that are looking at the island from all over Canada. It's very common. So it's a really good, engaging question there. Either you get people often saying, oh yeah, I know I'm from here. I've lived here a really long time. And you can have a really great conversation with somebody just off of that alone. But then the third text, which goes out 1 minute later, is very simple. One quick question. What kind of properties are you looking to find as you search?
As you're sending these out and you're kind of tracking responses, do you know which of those texts is getting the most response? Is it a simple answer, yes, I live on the island, or is it the one to do with like, what am I looking for?
Usually it's always the third one. Yeah. Occasionally, like a lot of times, like there is times where people will answer us on the second one and say, oh yeah, no, I live locally. Like they'll give you a short answer, but then you get that second question through that comes through right away, and then they're already talking to you. So we get a lot more out of that next one. They start sharing what they're actually looking for. So that's what goes out on day one. What I do personally is obviously I call them, right? If I can't get them on the phone, we do the double dial. Can't get them on the phone, they've got the text messages. Usually what I'll do is I'll pop in their profile and look a little bit more at what they've been actually doing, what they've been looking at on the website. And then I'll send them even another more customized personal message. So that's a little more hands-on. So if you're there and you're working on this person, you're engaging them, I can see what they're doing and say, oh, okay, well, I noticed so far from what I'm trying to set up for you is that you're looking at detached homes primarily. And in this area, am I on the right track, or what else should I be considering? And I'm just continually asking them questions, but showing them more and more that we're really already digging into this and trying to help them and get things set up and really coming from a place of value. And I'll just keep chipping away. If I don't get an answer to that one, I'll ask them another question, and maybe you could share a little bit more about what kind of price restrictions we should put on what we send you in the future. I don't want to waste your time, right? And just kind of keep plugging away, and you'll find that if you don't get something from those first 3 texts, which work pretty good alone, by doing that extra little dive in, you'll get a lot more responses from those next couple texts. But those are manual, and you kind of have to, there's no way to really automate those next ones. That's you getting in there and getting in their profile and really making an effort.
Can I just quickly summarize something? This guy right here alone, just himself, sets up about 110 sales a year from internet leads. Okay, so you're basically, to me, this is like the Michael Jordan of lead conversion. Okay, this guy knows his stuff. So if you're not taking notes on this and you're struggling with conversion, please take notes, because we're giving this is a gift to you to help you. This is our playbook, and you won't get this. Most mega agents in the industry won't open up their playbooks. We're about abundance. We're opening up our playbook. So I'm going to flip it over to you and your team, Todd. I want to hear your playbook. So what does it look like when I register on your website? Walk us through your process.
I'll give you that.
Or Ian.
Ian or I, we're happy to share it, and I'll give it to you as fast as I can, because there's a lot of other stuff I want to cover. I don't know how much time we'll have, but we're doing our first text faster than that. So I love that note, and I think we should absolutely test it here as well. Obviously, the other thing to think about is different stuff works in different markets at different times with different tones and price points, and depends on what type of lead you're generating and all that. But same thing goes, as we said before, don't be stuck in your ways and unwilling to test. So I think we will immediately, the 2 notes I had on that are, we're going to test a slower first message. And then I really like the second text as just a personality trust builder, even when that's not really there to get the most response, and it doesn't always get the most response, but it's helping that third text get more response, right? It's like, hey,
I really like that first one too, because we talk often on our team, you have to be offering value to people, right? It has to be a constant thing. And so I love the idea that from the very beginning, and we use it in our phone scripts, but I like it from the very beginning that we're just saying, hey, look, I'm already customizing your website for you.
Yeah,
we have an email that goes out similarly, but I like the idea of that just being in a text message that people are going to receive.
Yeah,
it's kind of coming across it's very assumptive. It's we're already doing this. We're already got started. So you'd have to kind of stop me now, or you can just kind of go along for the ride with me and give me the info that's going to just make this much better for you. And who wouldn't want that? You just signed up on a website, have a person here personally reaching out to you, trying to connect with you and try and make this a good experience for you. You do get objections, not to say that that's not going to happen, but most people are oh, this is great. Oh yeah, okay, awesome, right? He's already doing it.
Well, so if anyone out there that might be thinking, yeah, but are you really doing that? The reality is, yes, is the answer, because from the moment somebody signs up on the website, they're now put into a customized search. They're going to receive customized emails. So a lot of that stuff's already happening for everybody, but it's on the back end of Real Geeks. So it's not a lie to say, it's already been customized for you, because it is based on what it is that they were asking for.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of Real Geeks, is the fact that it does set up a safe search. And the most powerful drip campaign on the planet is a safe search. It's a property search.
Yeah.
Jamie, that property search function that Real Geeks has helped us so much. You have no idea. Hey, that is the most powerful.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to, what email do I send? 90% of those emails you're going to send out are going to go to a junk filter, or going to be garbage, not even read. But I can tell you, if you have a saved search that's in line with what people are looking for, and you do a good job of initially setting that up, you're going to have a lot of people that come out of the woodwork. And so what we notice is when inventory starts hitting in our marketplace, our inquiries on showing requests and people coming out of the woodworks goes through the roof.
Yeah.
So maybe you can quickly touch on that, Jamie.
Well, something I want to add in that just to go back to kind of some of the stuff that we're doing that's working really well in our market right now is that along with that phone call, along with that text message, just sending an email with just a really simple subject line of a good time to talk ? And then just saying, hey, so glad you jumped on the website. Thanks for doing that. Blah, blah, blah. When would be a really good time to talk? And I've had great responses recently from that. I don't know if it's just because people are stuck at home right now. They're on the computer. They've got the email pulled up. They're not out and about doing as much stuff. But I've been really surprised at the amount of email response that I've had. Text message has been good too. But just these last few months, email response, that simple question, whether that's from an inbound lead on Real Geeks or whether that's from a seller valuation or just whatever the source is, it's been a really, really good question to ask. And I think people are opening it because right now people want to talk, right? People are fed up of not being around other people and they want to have conversations. And so when they realize, hey, I went on this place, I'm getting an email that has, there's some sort of link to it and just saying a good time to talk. And I'm seeing the open rate and I'm seeing the response rate is really good.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too, is let's talk about some things we're doing that are different so that people can get more nuggets. Some of our text, pretty much every Real Geeks user ever has our lead follow-up system. We gave it away for free for like 9 years. And recently we beefed it up and we sell it super cheap now. But if you want that, just email me, todd@toddtramonte.com. Everybody's welcome to it. Most of you already have it. But I do think that did not used to work. I've tried that a lot because of course you're just being super direct. You're like, hey, when's a good time to talk? But right now that's working fantastically well. And I think it's working in other avenues as well. If someone's favoriting a property, if someone's responding with a question or whatever, instead of staying on text or email, just saying, hey, when's a good time to talk? We're just seeing people be much more receptive to that. And also, like Jamie was saying, our conversion rates are off the charts. Now, historically, we take a little bit more time and obsess a little bit more on conversion and slightly less just massive, crazy drama and more conversion and quality. But especially our marketing specialist right now, conversion is nuts. And one thing I'd like to talk about before we finish, we don't have to right now, is just fees and value. Our goal was not to back off of that because the market's crazy, but to offer more value and stand firm. And that has played out to be absolutely the right call. And so again, agent income and team profitability has remained really, really strong at an otherwise, tough time. And again, that's relevant in the future outside of a pandemic. Anytime there's a shift in interest rates or buyer seller demand or building supplies or whatever. So all kinds of really cool stuff going on that's working. So what else is working really uniquely for you guys that's worth sharing with folks?
One thing I would say, just kind of with what Ian was talking about there with just very direct email, what I find is like in our drip campaigns, we have a lot of value added email. So Jason's done a lot of area videos. So he'll go into particular neighborhoods in our community and do a focus video. And we have a lot of original video content that we hit people with. So it's a lot of like our email drip campaign isn't so much to gather communication back and forth. It's more to like fulfill people with value. But we do put in there at every few weeks, we have just a quick one-liner, just like what you mentioned there. Just, hey, I just had a few questions, just checking to see how we're doing with the listings. And is there anything that you need from us, any questions you've had, or hey, when's a good time to just kind of reconnect about your search and how it's going lately? Those types of things. I find if you're trying to send somebody an email that you're actually trying to engage a communication or get a response from, you do have to keep them simple. They can't be long and they can't be stuff that people need to really click on and all that. It's got to be just like a message, right? Just like a text message would be. But it's kind of in a combination of, in order to have people continually responding to those along the way, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, you got to make sure that in those other times that you're sending them the value added emails in your drip campaigns, that you're actually giving them things of value, things that are engaging, interesting articles, the original content videos, things that help them understand their home buying process or home selling process a little better with what's going on, right? So having value things, not making it always about like, hey, I'm trying to connect with you and stuff like that with those particular emails. And I don't know, that's what we've found, like having that mix between.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that's being shared here, right? And the reality is, no matter where you are in the country, there's some elements of this that's going to work for you. We've got coaching clients that are up in Buffalo in the Northeast, or in North Dakota, which is just incredibly hit by oil prices. Like they're implementing things that we're discussing and still finding that it works. So if you're in some market where you feel like, but this isn't probably going to work for me, like give it a go. Like take notes on all of this stuff and begin to implement those pieces of it and figure out which of them for me is going to work in my business and where I'm living.
Can I say one thing really quick? There's a little nugget of value. Surround yourself with good people. You can be an individual agent and that's cool, but surround yourself with great people. They don't have to be directly on your team. They could be people that you mastermind with. But when you have challenges and problems, talk about them in a group. So we had one of our agents, he's like, man, I've got this guy that I had a really good connection with a couple of weeks ago, but he's not responding to anything I'm putting out there. So we collaborated and we came up with this idea. It's like, hey, why don't you, he went on this really cool nature walk, and this guy that he knows is going to be moving into our market. And he took a little video and he sent it to him. He said, hey, I just did this nature trail, and he showed him on the map where it was. And he said, I just did this nature trail walk and it was amazing. And I was remembering our conversation from a couple of weeks ago. And I knew that this would be a place you need to check out when you come to Nanaimo. Guy responded and they had an amazing dialogue. Come at it from a place of creativity and value. And the mastermind is the most powerful thing on the planet. Todd and I talk about that a lot. Surround yourself with other people. You don't need to know everything. Just have people around you. You can brainstorm and you can come up with such great knowledge. I don't know everything. Trust me, there's a lot I don't know, but I know a lot of really smart people in different areas, and we collaborate all the time. And that's the beauty of like building this business up. Jamie and I constantly, will reevaluate things. So if, when I was in production and I'd go on a listing, and if I didn't get the listing, Jamie and I would sit down and we'd break down my process, and I'd go through, okay, what was the process that I followed, Jamie? Where could I tweak? And we'd find one thing that I could tweak. And then I'd quickly try and get another appointment, and I'd go out and then I'd have a success usually. And Jamie and I, we do that in the lab, and we have that collaboration. Him and Joe in our team and Sarah in our inside sales agent team, they're constantly collaborating and coming up with creative stuff. So again, you don't have to be on a team. You can be an individual agent, but just find some people to mastermind with. You're not at this alone. And I realize that, it's pretty lonely when you get into real estate in a lot of environments. Find an environment where you get support and collaboration. That's like the biggest thing I can give you. You don't have to figure it all out on your own. There's a lot of people here that will help you.
Yeah, Todd and I have conversations daily on, different aspects of the business and where can we grow, where do we need to change little things, who do we have on the team that can perhaps jump in and, lead out in a certain area. And we were just talking about this on a call like last week, where we just challenged people with the question of like, hey, what's your weaknesses and who do you have around you that will stop your weakness from becoming your absolute failure, was essentially the question. Right? Because if you know your weaknesses, but you don't have anybody around you that can truly help with limiting how much that's going to hurt, like it's going to hurt bad. So you need to make sure that you do surround yourself with people that can sharpen you.
Yeah, it's one of our big company core values. It's on the walls everywhere to share your strengths and diminish your weaknesses with other people. Surround yourself with those people. And Jason and I do this pretty much every single week, one-to-one, and we record them and share them usually. But I've got 3 notes I took while y'all were talking. I just want to share them with everybody real quick. One, Jamie was mentioning if you're going to have automated follow-up, you've got to add value, right? And we do a ton of video in that regard as well. You can't be trying to convert on every single touch. Now the phone is a little different. You can, the phone is kind of your best conversion strategy unless you're face-to-face, in my opinion. But those texts and those emails and physical mail and newsletters, that you've got to add value. You've got to lead with the giving hand. So we do a ton of similar YouTube stuff. The market reports on Real Geeks are super helpful too, especially if you're in a state where you can get sold data. And then the emails you were talking about remind me of one of our strategies, which we call a 9-word email, which I borrowed, I think, from Dean Jackson one day. Doesn't actually have to be 9, but it's just that short and sweet. You can see it without scrolling. You could probably see it in the preview of the email. Every so often, you've just got to be clear, direct, not offensive, not kick the door in, but just ask for what you're looking for. Still, leading in a valuable way. Some great emails like that are, Hey, Jason, are you still looking for a home in Nanaimo? You might add this year. Hey, Jamie, how are we doing on finding the right houses you're looking for? Hey, Jamie, are you ready to go see some properties yet? Hey, Jamie, have you zeroed in on your budget? Just simple stuff like that. That's like, they can answer yes, no, or tomorrow, whatever. And then you were telling that story about one of your agents or clients or whatever, and it reminded me of one. It was really funny, actually, on a coaching call we did the other day. We have an amazing coaching client. She has high-end real estate in the Sacramento area. And she was just talking about how super frustrating it was to be getting crappy offers from some of her buyers lately, because in that market, people had just kind of lost confidence in property values. And it doesn't really matter what the strategy was, but I think Ian shared something with her for like 3 minutes. And on the next call, she was like, I put 4 deals back together that fell apart because I just started thinking differently about what it means for a buyer to make a lower offer, right? So we can talk about the strategy, but to Jason's point of being around people that will lift you up and pick you up and give you a tip, it's essential. But it doesn't mean you have to build a team. If you're a solo agent or you're a newer agent or you're independent and happy to be independent, it really just comes down to, even if you're great, knowing that you don't know it all and that there's other people that can help you. And they might be less experienced or less productive than you, and they can still really help you. But by all means, there are some generous people out there that might be more successful or productive than you that are still willing to help. So maybe they're a coach, maybe they're a broker, maybe they're just a generous person that will swap stuff with you. Go ahead, Jamie.
One more thing I want to say about that too is just kind of like what you're saying is having people around you, thinking about things differently. We kind of talked about it before, but like you have to be willing to skin your knees a bit, and it's okay to try something and have it not work. Like you have to be okay with the fact that you're going to put something forward and give it a go, and it might not go how you're hoping it goes, but be okay with that. Be okay with trying, and just always be focused on action, right? Like that's the one thing that we preach here all the time, right? You're always coming from a place where it's like, okay, is this something that's helping my clients or helping, us achieve our goals? Because if not, then you're probably spending your time worrying about something that you shouldn't be worrying about. Whenever anybody comes in and starts training, doing some of the client care stuff with me, like I say, I always tell them, like, this is your business, and you have to be willing to just kind of get to work, and you have to be willing to just be okay with knowing that when you start making those calls and you start having conversations and asking questions, that sometimes it's not going to go well.
Yeah.
On to the next one, right? So
yeah, I think to your point about skinning your knees and making mistakes, people are starving for something positive and someone trustworthy, right? Like we joked for a second about politics before we got going on this. We will not talk about that, but people are craving something positive and people who are trustworthy. So whether it's, a coaching client or a buyer or seller client or any of the environments that any of us are in, if you can be that calming voice of authoritative, positive leadership, and it doesn't mean you're just blindly optimistic, like every day is a great day to buy real estate, like that's annoying, right? But if you can be that voice of reason, like even in that environment, Jamie, it's like, look, entrepreneurship is about making a bunch of messes and then deciding which ones to clean up, right? It's never easy. It's never super simple and direct, even if you have a coach or someone to lead the way. There's always tweaking that needs to be done. But I just believe that our prospects, whether they're home search leads or radio leads or direct mail leads or referral sources or whatever, especially right now, they're starving for something positive and someone they can trust and believe in. And if regardless of those technical strategies, if we can keep that kind of focus, really, really, really good things can happen.
We've been talking a lot about that on the radio show that we do, and just sharing good news, like sharing positive stories. People that are reaching out to us and calling in and just asking like really simple questions. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get my house sold. I just don't know what this market's going to do to it. I just don't know about this. And then you can turn around and share like, hey, can I just share with you kind of how our team has been doing over the past month, right? Hey, we've got 26 closings that are set for June right now. We've got 17 sellers. We've got 9 buyers. We listed we listed 16 homes in May. 12 of them went under contract the first weekend over asking. Like there's positive stuff out there. And when you begin to share that with people, it changes their whole mindset around real estate. It's all of a sudden they've gone from only seeing negative stuff on real estate on the internet and on TV and on the news to now hearing an actual story about something positive that's happened, and that just really opens up and it lowers their barriers to want to have that conversation, and then you can jump in and begin to talk more with them.
Can I say something? So if you're in real estate right now, I want you to think about this, okay? In your pipeline at this moment, how many people do you have that are 6 months or less from buying or selling potentially that you've had good connections and conversations with? And if you want to get to doing a deal a week to 2 deals a week, I'll give you a little tip. If the number is not 25 to 30, then you need to add more people to your pipeline. And so if you want a simple, easy metric, get a spreadsheet out, use your CRM system with Real Geeks, whatever platform you use, but track your prospects that are 6 months or less looking to buy and sell that you've connected with, and really nurture that list, and make sure that at all times you have a minimum of 25 to 30 people on that list. When you sell one, you take them out. Something's happened, they're no longer buying, you take them out, but you're constantly keeping that list. And if you do that, you will have so much abundance in your mind that you're never going to be stressed out about 1 or 2 deals falling apart, because that's always going to happen in real estate. It's always going to happen. Your things are just going to be out of your control for whatever reason. The person lost their job, they've had a life event, something's happened, and a buyer falls out. When you have very few prospects, that's very stressful. When you have a huge abundant pipeline, you don't worry about that. So one of the things that we focus on in our group is how many people do you have right now that are 6 months or less from doing something? Because if they're 6 months or less, that means that they're going to be doing something in the near future. So you can work on value and helping them make that decision, but start evaluating your pipelines. Jamie, right now, if you look at your pipeline, now you're an inside sales agent. We call it client care. We just like the name better than ISA. So when we say client care, it's like an ISA. But Jamie, right now in your pipeline, just you, how many deals do you have that are 6 months or less out, buyers or sellers potentially?
I would say anywhere from 50 to 100 prospects that I feel like could be, people that could convert in the next year, as long as we're staying in good touch and in good contact with them, like highly probable prospects, right? So
now if we delve deeper, Jamie, and I was like, Jamie, how many do you have that are 90 days or less?
I would say probably, for sure, I don't have my boards in front of me in this room here, but I would say like there's got to be at least 20 people that could potentially buy in the next 90 days. Yeah.
Tell me if you guys agree with this number. I don't know if I do, but I've heard people say this for years. Like the number of contacts you make in a given week should round out to about how many transactions you do in a given year.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I've personally heard that.
Yeah,
but
I just think it's one of those like, it's a directional metric or whatever. But I like that. That's not one of our primary trackable. We have that data, so I'm going to go pull it as soon as we're done here. But I like to look at 90-day timelines with people too, and that's kind of what's you're chunking down to there. So I think
we were just looking at them. Like I was just looking at that with team members, with agents this past week in one-on-ones, where we're just saying like, it was just, the question was like, hey, how do you feel like you're doing right now? Feel like I'm a little behind. Okay, let's pull up the data. Let's just pull it up right now. Let's see where you're at, see what's in your pipeline. Let's see where you're going to get to in the next 9 days. And every single person was like, oh, okay, I feel pretty good. Like I feel good now. Like, because in your head, you start thinking, man, I lost this one, to Jason's point. I lost this one. And around our office, we just say, hey, look, some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? Right? That's the mindset. It's like, you're going to lose some of them.
If you have a big pipeline, that's
right.
It doesn't hurt when you have a pipeline. And that's the key. That's the key thing here, guys. It's successful agents in real estate lose deals just like anybody else. Now, their skills and the things they've worked at, they probably have a higher conversion rate and they're better at pre-qualifying, yada, yada. That helps. However, they still aren't immune to it. It happens to everybody. So the key thing to make yourself always have confidence is your pipeline. And what gave us confidence through this last 2-3 months is the fact that we were still working a big pipeline. And we just realized that some people were delayed. But, in our company at all times, we always have irons in the fire. So when you don't get that listing, it's okay, because we have others in the pipeline. You're never going to have 100% conversion rate. And anybody that brags about having 100% conversion rate, I can tell you, doesn't produce at a high level. And
Right.
I'll debate anybody that wants to have
Yeah,
that
that's
conversation.
not
Now,
real.
maybe you
Or they have
filter a few-
100% they have 100% of the ones they want to tell you about.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
At my peak when I was in production, I converted about 80% of listing appointments I went on, which is pretty high, but that means 2 out of 10 people didn't list with me. And I felt like my skills were sharp and I was good at what I did. I mean, Jamie, you know, my skills are pretty good when it comes to that. But I didn't get every single one, but I was listing 130 homes a year just myself. You know, and of course I had an amazing team working with me on that, but still, you know, at the end of the day, guys, you're not going to get every shot. And Michael Jordan never made every shot. What was his shooting percentage? Just under 50% for his career, greatest of all time. That means he missed more shots than he made in his career, but he's the most clutch basketball player. So just remember these things.
Kevin wants to argue with you about who the best basketball player. That's a different. We're going to do a different.
Yeah,
Keeping it
can't
real
even
on
debate
that
it.
one.
Let me add one thing. Like you're not going to be able to get a big pipeline or all this stuff. Like if you don't practice, right? You better be practicing how to convert people, both on the phone and in person, because it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, right? Generating leads, if you throw enough money, you can generate leads. But to convert those leads into people that you get to work with, that first of all you get to be in front of, you know, not just on a phone call, but then once you're in front of them to become a client, like you better be practicing at that stuff, because otherwise you're just going to waste a bunch of your time. So like if you don't have people around you, you know, again, surrounding yourselves with people that can help better you and make you stronger and sharpen you. Like you need to go find those people, whether that's on your team, whether that's in the office that you work in, or just finding sharp people that you can trust their feedback. Like you need to make sure that that's happening.
I have one other thought before we start thinking about wrapping up. I'll go as long as we want, but in light of what it's not over yet. We all acknowledge that, but this craziness of COVID-19 that we've been going through, I always think about, okay, well, that's the insane thing of the moment. What could the next thing be, right? Like how can I be prepared? And on the one hand, sound business principles should theoretically help you be prepared for just about whatever's coming. And my philosophy is the two most powerful things in business outside of relationships are cash reserves and long-term thinking. And by the way, a big pipeline helps you think long-term. And a big pipeline is a form of cash reserves too. But what anyone here, Kevin or any of y'all, what do you what would scare you? What would you think we all need to be prepared for as a potential disruptor down the road? And I don't mean like open door. I mean something that could really, really shake things up. No one saw this one coming that I know of. But anyone have thoughts on that at all? I have a couple of like significant things that would terrify me.
Well, I mean, obviously, like a war in your own country and that kind of stuff terrified. You know, that's pretty terrifying. Nobody wants to deal with that, right? That's civil war. You know, like that kind of stuff. Now, just keeping it more simple though, like the biggest thing that would scare me is if my mindset went from having an abundance mindset to a scarcity mindset.
Yep.
That would scare me as a leader running businesses and having people's livelihoods. The minute I stop thinking from a scarcity standpoint is the minute we start going backwards.
Yeah.
And that's really important. Like in our culture, one of the things that we always have an abundance mindset. So a lot of the things that we've been able to achieve and do are because we're always looking at possibilities, what's possible. And when you have that mindset, you create and you make things happen. So on a simple level, scarcity is a big problem. And I see it a lot when I talk to people. They're afraid to pour into an agent because they're afraid they're going to end up competing with them, for example.
Yep.
That's crazy. I always told my agents, I was like, look, if you ever get to a point where you want to go do your own thing, I will be your biggest cheerleader. And however I can support you, let me know. Because I never want to come to work and be like, oh my God, are my agents going to leave me? Because if you're thinking like that, your mindset is going to manifest that. So on a basic level, that's what I would say is the minute you go scarcity is the minute you start going backwards. So always come from a place of abundance.
Yeah.
We have the election coming up. That's going to be something that is going to have impacts, you know, economic impact more than likely. And when that happens, it's going to have impacts in the housing market, some areas more than others. Like that's something that we need to be probably thinking about now is to like, hey, what are those potential impacts going to be and how do we begin to navigate through them? Because it's an election year and it's coming up and it's going to come up sooner than we probably think.
Jamie, what about you, man?
I agree with you, Jason. Like I think for me, it's mindset, right? Because, you know, once you start getting in your own head, it can really start to, you know, weigh on how you perform, right? So for me, it would be mindset as well. Or, you know, if I can't,
My power just everything went off. I have no idea. I just got
yeah,
bombed.
that's weird.
That was the
Like,
thing I was afraid
no.
of, being personally attacked. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, my just mindset, right? Like if I had a shift in my mindset and started getting my own head, then that's where it will take away from my ability to, I think, connect as well with people. Keeping a positive mindset, I think that's one of the things for me that really helps me do so well. And this is always kind of coming from a place of positivity and feeling like there's nothing really standing in our way. Right. So, you know, it's kind of maybe like a blissful ignorance in a sense, where I just kind of take that and bring that to what I do and try and share that with our clients and connect with them well. So if I was getting in my head in that regard, it would definitely impact, I think, the way I perform.
Well, the one thought I have that I think is worth just planting in people's heads for a second is, it's easy right now to be like, look what just happened. Technology was the solution. But one of the things I don't want to be overly dependent on technology either. Right? Because let's just say internet's not possible for a 6-month period. I don't even know technologically how that would happen. But if that would happen, then what's my alternative, right? Have I developed relationships? Do I have am I collecting addresses? You know, what are we doing to be impenetrable, right? And that's kind of an extreme thing, but what if Google decides one day, you know, we're not doing advertisers with less than a $5 million budget. It's just not worth our time. Okay. Am I overly dependent on Google or pay-per-click? What if Facebook gets shut down because of privacy? I mean, I don't know. But the fact is, right now, we're most of us are responding, and some of us are benefiting with a hardcore technology look. And it just makes me think, okay, I don't want to get overly vulnerable on that too. So I thought it's just kind of a worthy note for some of us to be thinking about.
It is extreme, but if I was to have said to everybody in January of this year, hey, in March, no one's going to be allowed to leave their houses for like 3 months. You can't leave your house. Or and if you do, you have to wear a mask and you have to be 6 feet apart and you can't be in groups of more than 4, right? Everyone would have laughed at us and just been like, that is the most insane thing that I could possibly have thought of. So it is a crazy thought to think, what if Google doesn't exist? What if the internet worldwide goes down? It's like, how reliant are you on one particular thing? Does it absolutely rule your whole business?
I'll say one thing, have multiple sources of where you're getting your business. So don't rely on one thing. So for example, we do internet leads, we're big on social media, and we're big on repeat and referral. Those are our 3 main pillars that we drive business from. So some months referrals are going to drive business. Some months it's going to be internet leads. Some months it's going to be social media, but we have all 3 firing at all times. So whatever you're doing for
radio and referrals.
Yeah. Don't ever in real estate, if you have the money to do it, don't take your foot off the gas pedal, regardless of what the market does. You need to have that confidence in your business and in yourself to understand that even in the worst of times, for example, the Great Depression, which had 20% unemployment numbers, 80% of people were still working. Isn't that funny how you look at that? You could focus on the 20%, or you could be like, well, 80%, 8 out of 10 people still had jobs, and there were still sales that happened then. Right now, in our marketplace, we saw a 45% drop in sales the last 2 months. And yet our numbers are growing. Why? Because while everybody else pulled back, we kept our foot on the gas pedal. We kept moving forwards with the people that we were going to hire, because our business is not a 1-month business, 3-month business. We're looking at this like we want to be in business for the next 25, 30 plus years, right? Like we're looking at the long game, and there's going to be ups, downs in the market, and you can't ever do strategy based on the market. You got to do strategy based on where you're at. Now, does it mean that you might have to tighten up some areas? Absolutely. Did I tighten up some bad costs? For sure. But the costs I didn't tighten up on were people, because people are our biggest strength. I didn't ease up on our lead gen. Why? Because I know that's going to be our recovery. And guess what? We were able to come out very, very quickly. In April, we put the least amount of deals together in a month in a long time, but we built a massive pipeline. And then in May, it just exploded. And our May is stronger this year than it was last year. And our pipeline is huge coming up for June, July, August, which is exciting. So just remember that while everybody else is pulling back, you have to have that confidence to go against the grain and keep moving forwards. And there's some of you listening right now, and you're like, man, I wish I would have like followed my intuition here and maybe like kept my foot on the gas pedal, and maybe you didn't. But just remember that as bad as things got in the Great Depression and we're hitting some pretty bad unemployment numbers, there's still a lot of people working and there's still opportunity, and you just got to work that much harder.
When to that
Yeah,
point,
and you
like
know what?
Dallas was similarly hit, right? Dallas was similarly hit. Numbers were down on, homes that were going active, homes going under contract, and it was big numbers. June will be our highest GCI month ever, and it's not even close because we kept our foot on the pedal, we prospected, we followed up and stayed consistent, and it's resulted in April was not good because we were shut down for 3 weeks. We could not do real estate here. And in June, it just has exploded. May was great. May was ahead of what our projections were, but June has just exploded.
Yeah, the one thing I would say is that when we kind of started going into this pandemic early and everything was getting locked down, my head was like, man, I'm going to be able to connect with people at a much higher rate than I usually can by phone. Right? People are going to be at home, so I was thinking in my head, business wise, like this is great in that regard for making those connections. And the people that I talk today could be that person that we're doing our 4th or 5th deal with 15 years from now, right? So it's people do kind of take that whole approach of like, okay, let's roll back right now, but you're thinking about your business for the long run. We're doing this for like, we're gonna be doing this a long time, right? So yeah, you can't just think in the moment all the time. Continue to think, okay, who am I connecting with today, and what kind of client could that be for us in the long run?
Well, guys, I've been I haven't been doing my job. We've got some questions coming in here that I got so wrapped up in the discussion I haven't forwarded them to you. So maybe we can do like a lightning round. I'll just throw you some questions, quick answers. Jason and Jamie, how many agents do you have on your team working inbound buyer and seller leads?
So, why, Jamie? How
3.
many agents do you have?
So the client care department is three licensed agents. So myself, Joe, and Sarah. So there's 3 of us, and then I think we have 11 of us that are, I think 11
Total?
licensed total. Like we're all licensed in our client care.
Well, I count as an agent, but I'm pretty much out of production. So 7 agents in production, 3 agents in client care, and then 2 of those agents, by the way, 3 of those agents we hired like in February. So like right during COVID, we hired them. So keep that in mind, that there are people that are new and they're thriving. I will say that they are thriving despite the pandemic.
Todd and Ian, how many agents working inbound leads?
Every single one of our agents works inbound leads along with me. So right now we have six total working inbound leads. We have 1 new person starting in a couple weeks, and we are actively trying to find a couple more right now.
So 2 marketing specialists, 3 buyer specialists, and Ian takes a ton of leads, but doesn't sell outside.
Got it.
No one else inside.
Todd and Ian, as a new agent, should you spend money on advertising, or should you attack your sphere of influence?
It's a great question, and I do believe that one size does not fit all. But if you've got the budget and you can be disciplined, I don't think you need to wait to do some marketing and advertising. But I don't think you should ever be throwing money at a problem when you're not willing to work also. So obviously you should work your sphere of influence, low-hanging fruit, low-cost conversions. I don't think this is a great business to get into totally broke unless you are willing to bust your butt. And if you are, you can make almost anything work. So hopefully that's a direct answer. I don't want to take up too much time.
We talk about that with people often, and just saying, hey, are you really thinking about real estate as a business? Are you thinking of it as a business owner? Because you need to make sure you have a business plan. You need to make sure you know your budget. And if you know all of that stuff, and within that budget, you can go and do some paid advertising, do it.
Got it. Jason and Jamie, I assume you agree on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I agree on that for sure. I mean, there's not a whole bunch more I can add to it, but other than absolutely do it if you have the budget. If you're struggling to make your ends meet, you might want to consider getting on a team that has systems that you can go and learn from, that to take some of that risk and volatility out. And you might realize that it's a great place to have your career. Not everybody needs to go and build a business. Like if you're somebody like us, like Jamie and I, we don't have big egos. Nobody on our team does. We're all working together collectively. We all make way more money together than we would on our own. That's our belief for sure.
Got it. Jason and Jamie, earlier you were talking about using Zoom to do listing presentations and that sort of thing. How are you showing the contract and going through the contract over a Zoom so that people can understand?
Yeah, it's a good question. So you'd email the contract to the clients, and then you can pull it up on Zoom in a screen share, and then you can go through it. Really simple. Just go through it with them, just like you would in person. You're just doing it through a screen share.
That makes sense.
Same with our buyer guides and stuff like that we have prints in our office. We have the PDF versions and stuff like that available online. So I just pull those up on the screen, and they see all of our faces on the side if there's a couple of us, because a lot of times there will be a few of us, and then we just screen share it that way and go through and discuss it as we're
sending presentations to everybody via email, and we're doing screen shares on the Zoom. Exactly the same stuff that we would be doing if we were face to face.
Makes sense. Jason and Jamie, you were going over some of your communication earlier with leads that come into the website, and part of the talking points was, I see you're looking at single family homes. I see you're looking at condos. One of our viewers here said, hey, I'm in California and people get freaked out if you say you're tracking them. Is that something that you've run up against?
Not a lot, really, to be honest. Like, I've had a couple people like, oh, like, are you able to see what I see? And I say, yeah, like, I can see when you come on the website and properties that you're favoriting and things like that. It's actually one of the best features of the website that you can do that and know that I get to be alerted of the fact that you favorited that property. And what I try and do is then just go from there. I see that you favored a property, and I'll just go ahead and send you more information to your email on that property. So it's one of the great interactive features of the website, right? And I just try and build value in the fact that we can do that.
I was going to say, if somebody says that to you, that's a layup opportunity, because you basically just say, hey, that's one of the most sophisticated things about our system is it keeps me up to date with absolutely everything that you're looking at, so we can best serve you in the best ways possible for you, because we want to make sure that you're getting the most up-to-date information for the things that you want to know about, and that you're not having to get a bunch of trash. I mean, it's
we're your team, right? We're a team. We're like, when you hire a real estate agent, they're your team members. Like, they're part of your team that you're assembling to help you find the best house. So you want them to have as much information as possible, really.
And
it's like when somebody complains about the fact that it's like when someone complains about the fact that you call them 3 times in a row. Man, why are you calling me so much? Hey, I've made a commitment that I want to get in touch and stay in touch with you as quickly as possible. So if you don't want that from a professional, then I'm probably not your guy, but I've made that commitment. Sorry, Jason, I cut you off.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. You guys both have a lot to say, which is good. So do I, apparently. To that person, though, that said that, just remember this, okay? Out of 100 leads, if 5-10 people tell you to pound sand and F off, that's only 10%. That means 90% of people didn't. And so because you're getting that doesn't mean that what you're doing is wrong. And so I can tell you from coaching people in California and having expansion partners out there, there's nothing different about California than other markets. It's not like people are immune to being served and having people service their needs. You're going to have that type of response from people in any market. So don't let a few people stop you from focusing on the 90%. You know what I'm saying? Like, just as we're sitting here, I've gotten text message after text message that I can see from our client care team. Some are like, hey, you know what? We're just looking, leave us alone, to, hey, thanks, here's what I'm looking for, and everything in between. So you got to have a thick skin. You got to understand that the things we're teaching you are to help you incrementally improve your conversion. And like, we're a world-class team converting at 3 to 4% with Google AdWord and Bing AdWord leads. That's world-class conversion, guys. So you have to understand that we face some rejection in that, and it's okay. It's not the end of the.
The way I see it is, if I haven't been told to F off this week, I haven't been doing my job, right? So you gotta be okay with the fact that you're gonna have people be vocally telling you that they're not happy with your approach. But some of the quietest people are the people that are the happiest, right? So you have a lot of people in your database right now, if you're using the systems like we are, that are not really saying much, and you may not have fully connected with them yet, but in their mind, they're already looking at you as their agents, right? So it is a lot of times those quietest people that are getting the most value out of it and are just happy and are very comfortable in what they're receiving. So you got to be okay getting those messages and having people tell you you have to be okay getting rejection on the phone and having people hang up on you. You got to be okay with that.
Just to add to what you were saying, Jason, any drip campaign is going to get people that it's going to get messages from some people that it's just going to have pissed them off, right? It just is. Because, for example, we have an email that goes out. It's like, hey, do you have a house to sell? Right? Real short, real simple email. I mean, how do you have a house? I already told you I don't have a house. I already told you it's my first house. And we'll have our agents be like, hey, do we think we should get rid of that email? And it's like, no, we get like 3 responses a year from it. And like, I'm sorry if they all fell on your clients. Like, that is frustrating, but like, there's so many people that are getting those emails that respond differently.
And we've done so many deals with people that initially were grumpy. I mean, look, I love my wife, but depending on the time of day that I talk to her, she might be very short with me or she might be very sweet with me. And I love you, honey, if you're listening to this, but that's just the truth. So doesn't mean that she won't she won't work with me later on. Same with the lead. So they're human beings. Maybe you caught them at a bad moment. They just got some bad news or they're stressed out and they gave you that initial reaction. But I promise you, if you're always coming from a place of giving and serving in everything that you do, you can't lose. Like Jamie handles so many smoke screens so well because he knows he's coming from a place of service. And there's not a single client that's ever complained to me about Jamie once they get to know him. Not one single person ever. And that's pretty rare, but like, because we're coming from a pure place, like we genuinely are doing this because we want to help and we want to understand your situation. And one of the things we coach to is we never, ever make a recommendation to a client until we fully understand their full picture first. And that we've recapped it with them. That way, you're never coming from a place of like assuming anything. You're coming from a place of, hey, based on what you've told me, this is what makes the most sense. And it works really, really well. I have to go. I've got an appointment, guys, but like, I hope that the audience is getting value from this. Gentlemen, I love that we got to do this mastermind. I look forward to doing more of it. If I can service you or Jamie or our group, like we're here to help. For us, we've like literally dedicated our lives in this industry now to like elevating the game and making us all better. And like, that's my why. Every day I get up, how can I help our agents and the agents that we work and mentor with and that we partner with? How do we help them be more successful? And if any of this resonates and you want more information or you want us to give you some tips, reach out to us. My email, I'm sure Kevin, you can make that available. But thank you guys. It's an honor. And Kevin, thank you for building such an amazing company that we have been able to thrive from. Like, it's unbelievable the impact that your technology has had in our lives. And I couldn't be more grateful. So thank you. Seriously.
Thanks, Jason. That means a lot. And we can go ahead and wrap up here.
Was there anything else on the list? If not, we can shut it down.
I think
I have one other share, but if there's a question, we'll try to hit it first.
Yeah. Go ahead, Todd.
I was just going to wrap up, or if other questions come, I've got a few more minutes. But I'll say one thing that's working unbelievably well for us, relevant to the recent COVID-19, but also completely aside from that, is telling tons and tons and tons of client success stories, right? So third-party social proof, testimonials, Google reviews, whatever you want to call that, all of those things are super valuable. But if you're not noticing the massive movement towards checking people out, reviews, trusting the third party, and to be honest, in an insane way, over trusting total strangers, third-party reviews, right? Whether it's videos or online reviews, Google, Zillow, whatever. If you're not noticing that, you're missing, in some ways, a massive piece of the future of our business. I don't care where you're getting a lead or where you're converting it. A massive percentage of them is going and checking you out in other places. You can either be deliberate and position yourself and control some of that information and put some of that in front of them, or you can try to control every one of those third-party environments, or you could just kind of tap out and hope it all goes well. But we're doing in our phone prospecting, in our emails, in our text messaging, we're providing third-party social proof opinions for people. And some of the best stuff we're doing is what other people might view as incomplete, where it's not a closed and funded transaction. Hey, Kevin was amazing. We bought last year and he was incredible. It's like, hey, we just got through this portion of the process and Ian was brilliant. It was amazing. He saved us a ton of money. We haven't even closed yet, but I'm sure it's going to be great. So I just want to encourage people, even on the phone, when it's like, hey, I'm not really sure if the timing is right. Well, hey, let me tell you a quick story about someone that I had this same conversation with a couple of months ago. They actually just moved in last weekend. Here's what happened. Here's the worst part of it. Here's what we overcame. Here's their family impact. And if you remember, and I make this mistake a lot, if you remember not to spend all your time talking about your process, the features of what you do, or even necessarily the benefits of what you do, but if we talk to people about how their lives will be better, the transformational value of what we can do, our leadership, our advocacy, not like our marketing and negotiation, those are worthy of talking about, but big picture, what really moves the needle is how we can make their lives better. Their family can move forward. They can take a leap forward in their wealth building. They can find peace and security and safety. They can get away from this burden or this problem or this debt or whatever. If we can talk more about that, good things will happen. If we can have other people talk about how we can do that more, it's very difficult to stop good things from happening. So on the phone, in text, in email, we're doing it on radio, we're doing it in newsletters, we're doing that through what used to be a lot of live events. Now it's some virtual events, but I think that's something that everyone can do, even if you only have 1 or 2 or 3. And then my last thought on that is they don't have to all be clients. Like an attorney would think about a character witness. If you have vendor partners and friends that can say, look, Kevin McCarthy is one of the most trustworthy people I've ever been around. Hey, Jamie Wicks is one of the smartest marketers I've ever known. Hey, Ian Daniels is the most thoughtful, concerned friend. All of the above. That stuff in the current climate and what I see the future of the real estate industry is, that stuff is really, really, really valuable, and it's relevant to conversion and recruiting and retention and marketing and branding and all those things. So I want people to be encouraged. We've shared a lot of technical skill stuff. Obviously, take it and run with it. The scripts, the what day and how many hours and all that stuff. But some of that stuff, it's sort of like, I've got it, I've implemented it, now what? Give me more. Others of this stuff are principles and strategies that you can develop for the rest of your career. And honestly, that stuff is even more interesting to me than some of the technical stuff. And so I want to encourage people with that to create that as a big piece of your business and then never stop developing that. Because I think the future of our industry is going to absolutely lock people out that don't do stuff like that.
Yeah, always ask for reviews. We always ask our clients to do that for us, and we get a lot of advocacy with it. So I agree with you 100%.
Thanks, guys. So we ran over a little bit there, but it's hard to cut it off because it's just so interesting. I'd like to thank Jason, who's now gone, but also Jamie, Ian, and Todd for sitting down and talking and sharing your secret sauce. Some of it really is secret sauce, and some of it is just doing the right thing. So I love hearing that stuff, and thank you so much. So this episode will be sent out to everybody on our mailing list as a recording, so you can refer back to it. If you want to get on our mailing list and you're not on it, you can go to keepingitreal.com. And if you go there, you can also see all of our past episodes. It's got a cool search. You can just type in a keyword. Anything we mention on the episode gets transcribed, and you can pull up every one that mentions, PPC, for example, and go back and view those. So thanks again, guys. And we'll see everybody next time.
Thanks, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
You guys.